the different causes of the different types of pain and different symptoms that are occurring with fibromyalgia. First of all, I want to give a hearty thank you. I've had a few people reach out and give compliments and thank us for these videos. And it really means the world to me that this is reaching people and this is helping people understand their condition better. So I really appreciate you reaching out and giving us that feedback, because it really, really does mean the world to me. And it's a big part of why I got into this, specializing in this particular condition. So thank you. Now, I had mentioned that I would start discussing burning type pains today. And I'm very excited about that because I give a very long lecture on this, and it's absolutely one of my favorites because I think a lot of people can relate to this, right? So let's talk about burning pains. So do any of you get these burning type pains? Now, I know this is a big one that people get, and it really helps to break it down into what's causing these different types of pains, right? So burning versus heavy pains versus dull pains or sharp pains, or pains that wander around, or pains that feel heavy. So what gives with these burning pains? Now, there can be multiple reasons for this, but a big one, especially when we're dealing with something like fibromyalgia, is that it can be actually driven by chronic emotional stress. Now, we often have people that will say things like, oh, it's just stress. Now, as if we could be minimizing something like stress. Well, the truth is, stress plays an enormous role in our health and in our lives, and it can cause absolutely horrible problems. So to say something is just stress is kind of odd to me. Now, I'm going to get a little bit nerdy for a moment, so please bear with me. When we have stress levels, when our stress levels rise, we know that we release something called cortisol, but something that people don't know about is that we also increase something called nitric oxide gas in the body. It's a gasotransmitter. So this gas is needed for basically every body process you can think of. And so it's essential to our survival. However, when it becomes stuck in pockets, or when it becomes excessive in an area, it becomes highly inflammatory. So what does that mean for us? It means that it causes literal inflammation and, over the long term, damage to nerves. And this can present itself as a burning type pain and can be quite uncomfortable. So let me give you an example of this. I actually experienced this myself once. I was at an event, a work event once, and I was on about my 60th hour of work that week. I was tired, I was extremely frustrated, and I didn't want to be there, so I was definitely in a crabby mood. And I could actually feel the nitric oxide buildup in my muscles, in my neck and shoulders. And I felt this as a burning pain that was traveling up my neck and literally pulling my shoulders upwards. And I was not consciously doing this. I was consciously observing it. I could actually feel my muscles tensing up, because when you get too much of this nitric oxide gas build up in muscles, it will cause them to get tense. So how many of you have muscle tension? This may well be the cause of that. So how about headaches? Headaches can be a big one. How many of you are experiencing headaches on a regular basis? Well, headaches can be caused by a great variety of things, but one of the big causes is actually stress. And now again, we're talking about this nitric oxide buildup. So when we get stress, all this nitric oxide that I'm mentioning can rise into the head and start to cause inflammation or even spasming in the blood vessels. And this can also start to affect things like the optic nerve, the nerve behind your eye. And this will cause inflammation there. Now, it can cause both headaches, but over time it can actually damage this nerve and cause that nerve to detach and cause you to go blind. This is where the term blind with rage comes from. When people get so upset, so angry, they start shouting, all this nitric oxide starts building up, it actually starts to detach that from their eyes. They can start to see spots, and some people have actually gone blind from this. Now, what's even more fascinating is that when people get upset like this, they actually start to try to release this nitric oxide gas on their own. It's a natural body mechanism. So what do? And you're going to recognize this. They will start to do things like this. They'll go, they're sighing. Their body is literally trying to expel this buildup of gas. What else do? They start to raise their voices, right? How often have you done this? How often have you seen other people do this? They get upset and their voice gets louder and louder and louder until they're shouting or even screaming at somebody, and their face is turning red from all this heat, from all this blood flow, from all this inflammation that's going on there. So they're literally trying to do it. The body is literally trying to get rid of this excessive gas. So the next time you get upset and you start sighing or you start to raise your voice and somebody tells you that you're just being all huffy, just say, no, I'm just trying to get rid of the excess of nitric oxide gas that's been building up. So I hope that sheds some light on this type of pain issue. I'm going to get further into these things a bit tomorrow. So thanks for joining me.